podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hi everyone. I'm actually fighting a little bit of a bug right now. Either that or I have just a hideous case of hay fever, which I'm trying to figure out. But I have been somewhat in bed trying to fight all these symptoms and watching Italian teams lose finals yet again. I actually got a little bit down about it because I was like, why is it that we're not winning these titles? Because I was thinking of Inter, I was thinking of obviously Fiorentina, and then I remembered and I had to remind myself that Atalanta managed a glorious win in the Europa League final against Bayer Leverkusen, and it made me relax a little bit. But sadly for Fiorentina, it's yet another loss in a major final. So they lost the Coppa Italia final last season. They lost the Conference League final last year to West Ham, and it was a 90th minute goal from Jared Bowen that knocked them out and saw them suffer. And this time around, it was a goal in the 116th minute, so deep in stoppage time, deep in extra time, to give Olympiacos the trophy in Athens. A goal from Ayoub El-Kaabi, who's been having actually a terrific season, but didn't play his best game in this particular match until the end. Important thing to note is, and this is a great story, is that this is Olympiacos's third coach. Jose Luis Mendilibar had come in February to coach this team. It's been a rather chaotic season for Olympiacos in general. So their coach Michel had resigned, then you had an interim coach, and then Mendilibar got the job in early February. He led the team to third in the league and now has lifted a European trophy with them. Now this is his second in a row, second overall in his career. His last one was last year when he was coach of Sevilla and they defeated Jose Mourinho's Roma side in the Europa League. So it's quite an extraordinary season, quite an extraordinary 2 years for Mendilibar as well, because when he took over at Sevilla, that was a very chaotic club and situation as well. So it's been incredible how he's just come in, takes over and wins European trophies. And maybe Italian teams should go for him when they make a final and see what happens. But it's difficult to not feel sympathy for Fiorentina. And you could tell that this hurts. This is exactly what Vincenzo Italiano said afterwards. He said it's another late goal and it's another loss, and this one hurts even more. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were favourites to win this, even though the game was being played in Greece. And while it wasn't Olympiacos' home stadium, it still felt like a home game for them. 9,000 Fiorentina fans had travelled and 30,000 fans had gone to the Artemio Franchi to watch and to applaud their team and watch from Italy. And this was going to be a game that they wanted, well, hopefully a win that they would offer as a tribute to their director, Joe Barone, who passed away sadly a few months ago. They had wanted to, having managed another final, they really wanted to win this one to prove that they have what it takes. And really to thank the project, I guess, as a culmination of this project that they have been building, and a lot of money spent. Although you can question how efficiently that money has been spent. But unfortunately for them, it didn't go that way. This is the first time a Greek team has lifted the European trophy. So just imagine how big this is for the opponent. But Fiorentina, there are lots of question marks as to why they lost this particular final. And in the words of Italiano, he feels that what his team lack is that understanding, that experience, that know-how to win a final, that little bit of edge. How do you get that, right? You have to reach finals and win them to get that, but how do you win the first one to be able to continue that? But the team was surprisingly weak in the latter stages of this game. It was almost like they started to get too scared. They were filled with anxiety, and perhaps it's something that they felt, but the coach needs to look at that, because it's too many finals in which you don't see necessarily the best of Fiorentina at all times. They started the match differently. They were playing such good football, and they always play such good football. And it's difficult to look at the side because they create so many opportunities, right? Like Bonaventura had 2 great chances in quick succession, and they should have gotten a goal in the first half. They also had another one in the 70th minute when Kwame scuffed his shot. So they do create these opportunities. In fact, I think they've created the most opportunities in the Europa League with the smallest efficiency rate, which goes to tell you a lot about maybe not the tactics, but rather the lack of a great number 9. And that has been a problem for them. And we've seen that ever since Vlahovic left the club, that there just hasn't been somebody to have really made the number 9 his own and sparkle in that position. Whether it be Andrea Bellotti or Nzola or Lucas Beltran, there hasn't been one who has been capable of efficiently finishing off all the opportunities that they create, or at least enough opportunities. Even when they have managed to win penalties throughout the season, they couldn't even score that. I mean, so there's a serious problem when it comes to Fiorentina and converting chances. And so this is not something you can ever blame a coach for. This is something that needs to be looked at within the team and needs to be addressed through the transfer market. But it's obviously hard to do when you consider the budgets. So this has been a problem for them in general. And if you look at the actual stats, let me bring that up here. 17 shots and 5 on target for Fiorentina, 6 and 2 for Olympiacos. They had a higher XG, 1.03, in comparison to about 0.5 for Olympiacos. And if you look at the game, I mean, forget the stats. The first half, they played some great football. And then something started to happen in the second half where it looked like they just started to tire. They looked like they had lost faith in their ability to get this goal, to get this win. And it started to go south, because as soon as they took their foot off the gas and as soon as they started to lose the main principles of their game, their attacking game, their courageous game, then you saw the opponents start to grow in strength and in confidence. Now Olympiacos started to smell blood, and it looked like they had an opportunity there to potentially just nick it. And this is what worries me about Fiorentina, and this is what I really do feel sorry for when it comes to Italiano, when he says there's something that's missing in the final. There isn't that bit between your teeth where you're just desperate, you're hungry. It's almost like they lost their hunger. And yeah, I mean, it was a controversial goal in many ways, because just before that, there was an initial cross that was cut out by Milinkovic, and then it looked like he had been fouled. And then the referee it looked like he was about to award a free kick, and a few of the Fiorentina players had started to complain. But the whistle didn't come, and the game went on. And obviously, that's how the goal was eventually scored, because it was another cross that came in, and El Kaabi was at the end of it, and it was a goal. And it is about playing to the whistle. It is about showing a certain level of hunger and anger and confidence and bravery towards the end. And that's something that we've only really seen from Atalanta. That was what was so brilliant about Atalanta's win, was that they played with such bravery and heart and determination. And as much as Fiorentina showed us the beauty of their play at several moments, it looked like a team that was anxious. It looked like a team that was fearful of this not going their way. And that is the difference. There seems to be a disconnect on a psychological level for Fiorentina, and that's another thing they need to address. And that does come from the coach. So having said that, he has his alibis, because this isn't a great team, but they do need to work on this determination, if you will. And it's a shame, really. It's a shame, because this was going to be the tribute to Joe Barone. This was going to be a way that Italy would have 9 teams in European competition, but the loss means that Torino don't make it now into Europe. It just seems like, we were so happy. We were like, maybe we're going to have 6 in the Champions League, and we're going to have this number in the Europa League, and this number of Italian teams in Europe in general. But we've ended up with 5 in the Champions League and 8 in Europe overall, which is still a remarkable achievement. But perhaps we just dreamt a little bit too much. So a sad night for Fiorentina. What happens now is that they still have that one game left that they have to play against Atalanta. Vincenzo Italiano's contract comes to an end in June, and we're interested to see what happens next. There's obviously still the opportunity of him choosing to stay on, or he might go elsewhere and feel like his cycle has ended at Fiorentina. I don't know if it has, but I am interested to see that if he stays on, if they make it to another final next season, because they really, really deserve to actually celebrate at some point.
Sports Social Podcast Network.